Welcome back, yogis. Welcome, welcome. Okay, finding our seats, getting ready for our meditation today. Closing the eyes, finding a tall spine. And just taking a few moments again, as we normally do, to give ourselves permission to fully be here. We make the conscious choice to show up to this room, to this space, to let go of everything that's been happening throughout your day before these next couple of minutes for our meditation. And for today's meditation, we start by interlacing the fingers in front of the heart. Find the fingertips in between the heart, pull the elbows apart. And as you do this, squeeze the fingertips a little bit tighter. Notice if your shoulders are rounding forward or if your chin is coming down. Today we do the opposite, lifting the heart up towards the hands, relaxing the shoulders away from the ears as you continue to pull the elbows apart. Bring your chin up towards the sky, continue to pull and squeeze. And as we do this, as we continue to build this tension on the fingertips, as we continue to pull the elbows apart, just bring into mind all the barriers that we've put in front of our hearts on this day, on this week, all the ways in which we've kept ourselves safe. We give thanks to the barriers. We give thanks to this energy that's building in the shoulders. We take a deep breath in into the space in between the palms of the hands and the heart. With your exhale, palms up towards the sky, releasing that, giving that as an offering up towards the sky. Reach up, big good morning stretch. Hands come to prayer by your heart. And then today we bring left palm up towards the sky, right palm rest on top of the left, and fingers come together, thumbs come together at the top. And from there, we relax our hands by our sides. Closing our eyes, relaxing the gaze. No instructions for today's meditation. We give ourselves the next 10 minutes to start our practice. When it's time, I will guide you through. Keeping your eyes closed, just take a moment to notice what just happened. All the places where the mind has gone, the stories that we're telling ourselves during these past couple of minutes. For most of us, when we fall asleep and we begin dreaming, we don't notice the moment when we start dreaming or the moment when we fall asleep. Just find ourselves already in the dream or already sleeping. So in the same way, when we close our eyes to meditate, it's very common for us to just find ourselves thinking, telling ourselves a story about what's happening inside of our minds or externally into the world. So for these last couple of minutes, we give ourselves permission to begin again. And this time, see if you can notice the moment you begin to think of something else. The moment a thought comes into the mind. And once we notice that beginning, we just give ourselves permission to begin again. Take a deep breath in together to reset. And as you exhale, begin. In this last minute of our practice, yogis, we give ourselves permission to simply exist, permission to simply begin again. This time without thinking of not thinking, without thinking of when the thoughts begin, without following the breath. Just give yourself permission to be a person. Give yourself permission to close your eyes and just breathe for a minute or two. When it's time, I'll guide us through. Bringing the mind back to this moment, to our shared space, finding some movement through your wrists, opening, closing the toes, wiggling the toes. Gently bring our hands to prayer by our hearts, keeping the eyes closed. We seal our meditation by chanting Om together. Beginning today by exhaling all the air out of the body. Giving ourselves permission to become fully empty. Exhale, exhale, exhale. Belly goes in towards the spine. Hollow out the body. Relax the shoulders. Lift the crown of the head up towards the sky. Hold completely empty. And now together, very softly, we inhale. Through the nose. Inhale, inhale, inhale. Expand the belly. Expand the heart. Taking another sip of air. Inhale. Hands to your third eye center, the space in between the eyebrows. Loka samasta suki no bhavantu. May all the beings in all the realms be happy, be free. And today, may your thoughts, your words, and your actions fall into perfect alignment for your liberation. We gently bow forward to the teacher within each and every single one of us. We open our eyes, we turn on our cameras, and we join our shared digital space. Welcome, welcome. See Brenda, Stacy, Joaquin, Christine chanting with your boy. Thank you so much. The problem is not in the things that we don't know. The problem is in the things that we feel so certain about in our lives. So when we talk about a spiritual practice, or we talk about, yeah, I would say a spiritual practice in general, one that's at least predicated on the idea of understanding truth or seeking that, it's important to realize that in the same way that we don't notice when we're sleeping or when we fall asleep or when we are start our dreams, oftentimes we don't notice when we're lost in thought. So when we close our eyes, it's very common in the beginning for us to just find ourselves lost in the sauce, right? Telling ourselves a story, thinking about something that's happening without realizing that we're thinking. This idea of being lost in thinking before we know that we're lost in the thinking. So for that reason, we have to question our thoughts and we have to question the things that we feel so certain about, right? So an example of that is the other day we were giving a tour of the property to someone that wanted to rent the space for retreats and different events. And we walked to this space, and this person just pointed out this giant dish, like a satellite dish that is in the property. And the guy was like, "Hey, what is that?" And neither me or Serenity had ever seen that. Like, I have no idea. I never even knew that was there before. Um, and we all kind of laughed about it, just like how silly it is that we walk through this space all the time and just never notice those things. So this is what we mean between the distinction of being awake and being asleep, and that we can be awake, literally physically awake, moving through the world, but that there's so much more that's happening in our environment that we're not aware of than the things that we are consciously aware of. And the truth is, some argue that it's impossible for us to be aware of all things at all times. But the practice of meditation and the practice of yoga is a practice that brings us to the skill of noticing when we're not, when we're distracted, when we're not paying attention, when we're having a conversation with someone, but we're also looking at our phone, right? Or when we're on the phone call with someone, but we're thinking of something else or watching TV. And even, in this call, sometimes a lot of you are working as well. So that's totally understandable. And we're so grateful that you're making the time to be here. But the capacity to be fully present with what's there is something that's becoming increasingly scarce in the world. The world's calling for us to be more productive and multitask more often and do multiple things and have different careers and different lives. And these are all incredible things. It's a really a gift that we can all share space digitally. But it's also important to harness this skill of paying attention to the one thing over and over and over again. And in our meditations, when we say something like, focus on the moment you get lost by thought, what we're not saying is thoughts are evil, being distracted is bad, you should never not realize that there's a giant dish in your backyard. That's not the point. The point is just to notice, oh, wow, here I am distracted again. Oh, wow, there's things in my environment, in my home that I don't even know are there. Oh, wow, there are thoughts in my mind that the moment I close my eyes and I sit here to meditate, I always go into this negative spiral. Or I always think about that one relationship that didn't go well. Or I think about that one time in high school when this thing happened. So just noticing. And again, I can't stress this enough. It's not about vilifying our thoughts. It's about noticing the places where the mind goes without us, quote unquote, trying to go there. So the practice is, again, over and over again, beginning over, starting again. We do this in our meditation. And then eventually, when we develop the capacity to be meditative in our day-to-day life, we're able to do this in conversations. You're having a difficult conversation with a client or with a family member. You feel yourself getting heated. You're about to react and say something that you're going to regret. But now you realize, oh, wow, I'm getting angry. I'm getting heated. This conversation's not going well. What are things and practices that I can go back to so I can find more presence in the ways in which I show up? And that's what this yoga of communication is all about. It's about giving ourselves, one, the ability to be mindful with the ways in which we interact, and two, to have skills and like actual practices that we can use with each other and with our loved ones to be able to move a conversation forward in a way that doesn't lead us to more suffering. Most acts done from mindlessness lead to more suffering, to more samsara. Acts that are done consciously tend to lead towards samadhi. All right. So we have room for maybe one or two people to share what came up with the meditation or with anything that I just shared. Who would like to give that a shot? All right. Well, looks like everyone's just shook it right now. We're processing all the things. I'm going to turn it over to Serenity. Thank you, everyone, for joining for this meditation.
Hello, hello. Happy Friday. And also happy almost Lunar New Year. It's tomorrow. Believe it or not, another huge milestone for each of us in our consciousness to remember the passage of time and also to remember that we can start new at any point. Every day is a new year in some ways, isn't it? And so, yeah, I would love to hear from each of you in the chat just how you're feeling today. And then we'll go right into today's lecture. The last day of the Lunar New Year, how is it that you're feeling today? Joaquin says groggy and happy. Yes, we can hold two opposite seeming emotions at the same time, groggy and happy. And I see Alexis typing. Beautiful. Great. I'm going to go ahead and check the chat and keep seeing how you all are doing. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and continue our lecture for today. We'll be referring to page 96 of Relationships That Work with Dr. David Wolf. And I see Christine commented, grateful, happy, lack of sleep, loopy. I'm getting a sense that a few of us are tired today. Alexis also shares, I'm a little tired and hopeful. I love this combination of like lightness and like a little sluggishness together today. Seems like that's the collective theme. But nonetheless, let's continue with our lecture today. Welcome back, Brenda. And we'll be going over, again, page 96 of Relationships That Work. In the beginning was the Word. Thus starts the famous Gospel according to John. Many great wisdom traditions state that sound, represented by the Word, lies at the basis of all creation. And just as the Supreme creates with his word, or her word, or their word, we too, as parts of the ultimate source, create our lives with our words. And in the Buddhist perspective, because everything is a mind projection, our words, our consciousness themselves creates our reality. And in the Vedic tradition, the nectar of instruction describes principles and practices for spiritual development and depicts the most elevated and transcendent consciousness. And as a testament to the transformative power of our words, the opening sentence of the Nectar of Instruction emphasizes the need to cultivate the habit of controlling our words if we are truly interested in spiritual process and profound spiritual realization. This is an important aspect of the yoga of communication. And also, it's an important process of becoming aware of our relationship with our words, their effect in our life, and also in our relationships. Very fitting for a yoga of communication today. And so I would love for you all to think about the energetics of the words that I will present to you now. And these are some words that you might find familiar. But before I do that, don't speak negatively about yourself, even as a joke. Your body doesn't know the difference. Words are energy and cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. Change the way you speak about yourself, and you can change your life. What you're not changing, you're also choosing. What type of language are we using? to ourselves, towards circumstances, and others. And so today we'll be talking about the power of our words. And like I prompted you all just a moment ago, think of the energy and the message behind the words I'll present to you. Ready? Okay. I have to. I have to. I have to go to the grocery store. I have to take care of all these bills. I have to make sure that I survive in this world. I have to. What is the feeling you get when you look at this word? Have to. Please feel free to unmute yourself. Stacy says anxiety.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say anxiety too. It makes me go, ugh, I have to do this.
Oh, yeah. Brenda, the energy is like, ugh, another form of anxiety. When I think of I have to, my shoulders kind of get a little heavy and I just kind of go like this. And there's like a little kid in me that says, I don't wanna. I have to. Anyone else notice anything? Thank you for sharing, Brenda and Stacy. I
It
have.
just feels, oh,
Mhm.
sorry.
Yeah,
I would
please.
say it just feels like there's no other option.
Mm.
It's like forced.
It's forced. There's no other option. Thank you for sharing, Alexis. And Joaquin writes, pressure, and then I become lethargic, tamasic, avoidant. And Gabriel says, obligations with the face melting emoji. I think we could all relate to that one right now. I have to. Okay, let's just note what we're experiencing here. And now let's look at the next set of words. I should. I should. I should do my taxes. I should go see my parents, but I'm a little busy right now. I should clean the litter box. And I know that I should take the trash out. Stacy writes, that makes my inner brats come out. Totally. Totally. Right? It's like the trigger words of every teenager in the world. You should be blah blah blah. Right? And Brenda writes procrastination. Yeah, I should. Should means that I'm not going to do it, but I know I should. I should means I definitely don't want to do it, but I know I need to. Right. And Joaquin shares overwhelmed. Yeah, overwhelmed. When we use the word should, it's usually because there's a to-do list that we have not done. Oh my gosh, the stress, the overwhelm. Thank you for sharing, Joaquin. What about you, Alexis? What's coming up for you when you think of I should?
It's like convincing myself of something better that I should be doing.
Oof, yeah, convincing oneself because you're not convinced, actually. So there's like a force to it. Thanks for sharing, Alexis. Christine, we'd love to hear from you too. Feel free to chat whenever you're ready. So, okay, let's go back. Let's go back a little bit. We looked at I have to. It didn't feel good. And then we went to I should. And boy, did that feel worse, right? We're leveling up on our bad feeling as we use these words. Now, I'm curious what happens when we share this next word, next set of words. I'll try to. I'll try. I'll try to pick you up at 4 at the airport at the peak of rush hour. Sure, I'll try. Yeah, you know what? Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna try to go to the gym. Yeah. And next time when I see my really triggering aunt, I'm gonna try my best to be as peaceful as possible. I'll try. I'll try. What's the feeling you get? Stacy says, biggest eye roll. Stacy said, ugh, I'm over it. Okay. And then Brenda says, not fully making a commitment. Feeling like a feeling of BSing myself. Totally. We know that that's not going to happen. And we actually went over this in a previous class, right? I have a box of tissues right here. I'll try to pick it up. I'm going to try to pick it up. There's a lot of effort and not much change. Yeah, and Christine writes, leaning into something but not convinced. What do you mean, Christine? You're not convinced that I'm going to try to pick up this box of tissues right here? I'm going to try. No. Yeah, Alexis writes, 75% sure it's not going to happen. Yeah, sounds about right. And Joaquin writes, reminds me of wanting to want to. Yeah, I want to do this, so I'll try. But I think as a collective, none of us are convinced that it's going to happen. And it just feels like a lie in some ways, right? Like we're lying to ourselves, we're lying to others, and not with like a bad intention, right? There's like the intention, there's the energy, there's so much energy in it, and yet no follow through. Okay, so now let's try this next set of words. I need. I really need to smoke that cigarette before I go to work. I look in the fridge and I really need avocados and carrots. Oh no, I really need these things for this party. Oh, I actually need participants to come to my party. I need flowers so that I can make this place beautiful. Stacy writes, do you really need it? And then Joaquin writes, self-serving, self-centered. Yeah, I need, right? It's all about me and my needs. And even let's say I use a different word, slightly different word. You need to do your homework. You need to change the tires. You need to file your taxes. How does that feel? I'll share something that's coming up for me. I need, yeah, like Joaquin says, authoritative. Who are you to tell me what I need? Is kind of what I want to say. But when I also think of I need with the word I, thinking about myself, I start noticing my attachments here. Do I really need it? Like Stacy said. Do I really need anything to be happy? Some questions there. What's coming up for anyone else? What's coming up for you, Brenda? And what's coming up for you, Alexis?
I feel like sometimes I need can be like a high priority on your list. You still may not do it, but it's like a higher priority.
Yeah, so it's like a priority on the list. And is it really because it's a priority on the list?
I think sometimes we feel like it can be.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like it. Yeah, so I need comes from that feeling place. And of course, there are some neutral ways to look at it, right? If I want to do like a paper mache project, I'm gonna need some paper and glue. And there's like a neutral way of looking at it. But when it's like, I need this to go right, or I'm worth nothing. Yikes. And then Christine writes Band-Aid or compensation for something we're not acknowledging. Yeah. Is this really what we need? Or is this something that we're not acknowledging? Is it a mask for something? Okay. Thank you all for sharing. Now let's move on to the next set of words. And let me know how you feel. I get to. I get to. I get to file my taxes this year. I get to show up to work on time, and I get to have this really difficult conversation with my mom. I get to wake up in the morning. What is it that you're sensing from I get to? Joaquin writes privilege. Yeah, there's like a sense of privilege. There's a sense of acceptance. Brenda writes being excited about an experience. Right, there's something about looking forward to it. Christine writes expansive opportunity. Yeah, there's so much here. And Alexis writes receiving permission. Yeah, I get to eat that ice cream tonight. And then Stacy also writes, I use this for one of my daily manifesting intentions. It feels like exciting and rewarding. Right. It feels exciting, rewarding. And I'm just curious, what's happening in your body? How do your shoulders feel? How does your chest feel? I get to. Brenda writes, I started smiling and feeling excited. Christine writes, light. Stacy feels soft and open. Yeah, our body responds immediately to the words that we use. And therefore, we get to create. What is it that we're wanting in our lives? Yeah, Alexis writes more open and confident, right? There's like this sense of like, I'm here. I get to. Now let's just go back a second. I need. What does that feel like in the body? There's a part of me that immediately wanted to like scratch my neck, like I was an addict or something. Like, I need this, right? There's like a feeling of desperation. Like I immediately want to lean forward and there's like this almost jittery feeling in my fingers. Yeah, and stays, yes, like desperate, like Brenda said, anxiety, totally. Like we're seeking something, but nonetheless, we don't have it, right? I need it's just outside of reach. It's like a carrot on a stick, but we'll never get there. I'll try to. I'll try to. And I should. I should. And I have to. And I'm going through these words quickly, but I think you can feel in your heart right away the impact of these words. Let's just notice. I have to. I should. I'll try to. I need. And last but not least, I get to. And when we think about the energetics and the feelings that come, I get to is the goal. Each morning, when we remember that this is a rare and precious life, we wake up and say, I get to be a human today. I get to make mistakes. I get to show up for the challenging things. I get to grow up, right? It doesn't matter what actually happens at the end of these words. I get to sets the stage for openness, for confidence, for receiving, for a sense of privilege. And so let's notice how often we use I get to in our language moving forward. One more. How does it feel to say I can't? I can't. I can't go to this thing. I can't afford it today. I just really can't walk your dog right now because I'm just super busy. I can't go to the gym. I can't. I'm too weak. Alexis writes defeated. Brenda agrees and also writes frustrated. Yeah, Lucy also agrees, defeated, right? I can't do it. I can't. I'm not able to. I can't. I can't also says that whatever follows these words, there is a 0% possibility it happening. And when you say that you feel defeated, it's likely because you know that. I can't is like a dead end. I can't because I don't have the skills, I don't have the ability. It's completely outside of my wheelhouse. I can't. And how does this feel in the body? How does it feel in your shoulders? How does your spine move? Alexis writes heart sinking. Heart sinking. Yeah, it's a defeat that says like, I'm not capable. Brenda writes angry face. Yeah. Yeah, there's something about it that's frustrating. And I'm curious, we're talking about how these words feel, but let's also consider what it feels like to receive these words. Will you help me? No, I can't. Will you make time for me? No, I can't. Lucy writes frustrating. I get like a visual of like a brick wall, like a really thick brick wall that says no more roads, no more possibilities. Keeping this noted, and Joaquin writes disappointing, keeping that feeling for a second, let's move to the next set of words. I am not willing to. I am not willing to. What comes up for you? I am not willing to. Alexis says boundaries. Brenda writes questions. And Christine agrees, boundaries. Yeah, I am not willing to. There's a sense of empowerment. It's not that I can't. It's not that I'm not able to. I'm not willing to. And Joaquin writes that he just had an earthquake. Perfect. It is kind of like an earthquaking lesson, right? Because this is about responsibilities, our personal responsibility, and the way we speak to ourselves. Lucy agrees. This is like a boundary, right? It's not that I'm not worthy. It's not that I'm not capable. I'm just making a choice. I am not willing to take out the trash for you today. I am not willing to stay 3 hours late after work. There's a sense of choice here. I can't feels like I have no choice. It's out of my hands. I am just a victim in this situation. I'm a victim to myself. I'm a victim to the world. I can't. I am not willing to says, I'm totally able to. And if I was willing to, I would. But today I'm choosing not to. There's an ownership of our personal responsibility here. Because often when we think of the words, I can't, it's actually a smokescreen, isn't it? How often have we been tricked and have we tricked others with the words, I can't, when we're really trying to say, I'm not willing to. There's something about I can't that feels nicer. It's not because I'm choosing to, it's out of my hands. It's not me. I'm not willing to says, no, it is me. I'm just being honest with you that I don't feel like doing that. And it is just what it is. I can't, and I'm not willing to, even though we don't intentionally think this way, but I can't is often associated with the belief that I'm being a good person. I'm a good person. I can't walk the dog for you today because I'm just so busy. Yeah, responsibility, writes Lucy. I'm not willing to. Is it bad for us to choose to say no? No. But how often do we shy from saying things like this? I would say, generally speaking, most people tend to use the I can't language instead of fully owning the I am not willing to. And so I'll pause my screen share here, and I'd love to hear from you all. What kinds of thoughts, realizations, and feelings are coming up as we begin to notice the power of our language? Alexis.
This reminds me of like a scale of ability as we were going down the words. Like there are some words that felt like you had no other choice to do it. And then there was more flexibility, I guess, as we scaled down. So I guess it just comes down to the ability that we have to do those things, whether we feel like we can because of other people or ourselves.
Hmm. That's a great point. Really highlighting that the power of our language or the choice of our language has more to do with how we feel about ourselves and the other more than anything else. It's not that we can't do it, it's that we don't believe that we can. Would you like to share a little bit more, Alexis?
I think at the moment though, I feel like I probably would just be circling back to what I said before.
Yeah. Well, then I would love to ask you a question. When you look at these words, like what do you notice in yourself?
I think the permission that we allow, whether it's just in ourselves, like I can't, I feel like comes up when I feel like all of my resources are stretched out and I don't have the ability within myself to like continue on something. And I feel like when I hear I have to, it's like there's no other option that I have. I may not want to do it, but I feel forced to do it. Or you might have that push of like, I have to do this or I need to do this. So I feel like that's where the scale comes in because it's like, I guess in convincing yourself as well too, like, with the ability of saying like, I won't, I can't, I could, So I feel like it's all in what you're willing to allow or what you feel conditioned to do in something. And I
Mm.
think it goes back to, I think about just the permission that sometimes we don't give ourselves, or we've conditioned ourselves to listen to what other people say. Because when I thought about when you said when other people say that we can't, I thought about instead of saying or hearing someone say, well, I can't do this for you, I go to, well, you can't do that. So I feel like it's all in, I guess, the force, if that makes sense, you know?
Did you say the force?
Yeah, like the force in someone saying, "Oh, you can't do this," or like a sense of manipulation.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing that up too. Yeah, because like you can't, right? Feels like an authoritative, like unkind thing to say.
Yeah.
And yet we say, I can't, like it's the easiest thing in the world. But is it really kind to ourselves? And is it true? Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Alexis. There's so much richness there.
Thank you.
And I'm looking here in the comments, and Lucy writes about how different words can shift energy. Totally, right? Like, what difference would it make for us to wake up in the morning and say, I, I don't want to go to work, and change it to, I get to go to work? And Joaquin writes, makes me realize the difference in saying I'm unable to at the moment and I can't. Yeah, one is more honest, right? I can't. Again, it's like a smoke screen. It doesn't actually say much, but I'm not able to at the moment. Feels more concrete and honest. And Brenda also writes, changing some of the ways you say something can make things sound softer and keeps the edge away. Totally. Yeah, Brenda, like when we use the words like, I really should be doing this. I really should wake up at 7 a.m. for class. The moment I say that, the less likely I'm going to be showing up to that class. And so there's like an immediate response that happens in the way we use our words. Thank you for sharing, Brenda. I'm so happy that you came. And yeah, Lucy, you agree, right? I can't do this. I should be doing this. None of those things actually allow the thing or the this to happen. Thank you, everyone, for your contributions today. We'll continue our study of language because our word is also related to our commitments. As you can see, I can't, I get to, I should are all related to the things, the promises, the commitments that we've either made to ourselves or to others. And so before we end our class, I'd love to just do a little guided meditation, and we'll come back to this in our next Friday class, where we'll explore a little bit more about the power of our words. So for this exercise, this guided meditation, close your eyes if you feel comfortable, or with the eyes open, focus on a single object. Find your breath deepening with each round. Noticing your mind come into a natural state of focus, tuning into the words that you are hearing. As we begin to settle in this moment, bring to mind a time when someone made an agreement with you, broke that agreement, and afterwards you saw them face to face. Bring to mind a time when someone made an agreement with you, broke that agreement, and afterwards saw you face to face. Connect with this experience. And begin to note what this experience is like for you. Maybe 2 or 3 words of feelings come to mind. And next, bring to mind a time when someone made a commitment to you, kept it, and afterwards you saw them again in person. Bring to mind a time when someone made a commitment to you, kept it, and afterwards you saw them in person. Connect with this experience, the emotions that arise. And as you connect with this experience, think of 2 to 3 words that describe how you feel. And now, think of an example, a moment in your life when you made an agreement with someone, broke it, and afterwards you saw the person face to face. A moment when you made an agreement, broke it, and after you saw the person face to face. Connect inside, noting 2 to 3 words that describe your experience. And lastly, recall an instance, a moment in your life when you made a commitment with someone and you fulfilled it. What was that like? How did that feel? Allowing that experience to sink in, noting your experience. Begin to let it go, bringing our awareness back with a breath. Deep inhale through the nose and open mouth exhale. Deep belly inhale. Long exhale through the nose. Gently opening the eyes, coming back into our shared space. I'd love to hear what came up for you in that visualization. How did that feel? Alexis.
I feel like in the first part of asking someone for something and them not showing up, it feels disheartening, disappointing. And then I feel like whenever someone asks something of me and I'm not able to do it, I still feel the same things, but then I become more disappointed because I wasn't able to do it. And then feeling the sense of I accomplished something when I've helped someone, it feels redeeming. It feels rewarding.
Yeah, I appreciate your reflections. I'm hearing that like it felt really disappointing to not follow through with your word when it was someone outside of you. And then when it was within you, like not showing up for yourself, oh, that didn't feel good either. And there's something about like not showing up for someone else that feels so bad. And 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 also something that feels so redeeming when we show up for others and for ourselves. And I get a sense that like there's a deeper sense of trust and a sense of confidence even when we show up for our word.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And I want to just ask you a question just to highlight. You mentioned that something felt worse, like it was more disappointing.
I would say whenever I have a situation where I can't help anybody, it just feels very disappointing, like a dishonor or something.
Mm,
And it makes me feel shameful because I can't, do that thing.
mm,
Whether it's that there's not enough time or, I feel like for me, there's always this willingness to do those things, so it's hardly ever like a no. So whenever that task isn't completed, it just feels very defeating in a way, versus if someone else did it to me, I could be understanding. But when you put in the scenario that, someone said that they couldn't do something and you see them, it's like that was a choice to not do it. It wasn't a sense to me like, oh, they just tried their best and they weren't able to. It was more of like they didn't care enough, So I feel like whenever someone asks something to me, there's that sense of care. There's that sense of the willingness to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the willingness to do it, and how when we're face to face with the person in question, how that makes the feelings so much more apparent. Like whether or not it was a true I can't, or if it wasn't I'm not willing. And also like the sting, right? Like it's one thing when someone doesn't fulfill something for us, right? There's like a part of you that's a little bit more understanding. But when it's you not showing up for your commitments, oh my gosh, like the wave of shame, guilt, disappointment is quite a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Alexis. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so I want to bring up again the concept of karma here. Karma. Karma isn't necessarily that we are bad people and therefore bad things happen to us. It's not that we messed up and therefore something messed up will happen to us. Karma is actually this emotional feeling that we were just talking about with Alexis. It's that feeling of disappointment when we don't show up for our word. It's that feeling of joy and confidence when we do. The immediate karma that we experience is the feeling in our heart. And so I'll pause here for today's class, especially as I hear our foster doggy barking, letting me know it's the end of time. I would love to hear from those of you that are still here, and for those of you watching the recording. A round of pearls, a word or a short phrase, something that you are taking away with you from today's class. You may unmute yourself as you feel inspired, or write it in the chat.
Be impeccable with your words.
Thank you, Joaquin. Be impeccable with your words. Who would like to go next? Alexis, Stacy, Kristen. Stacy writes, sometimes just a change of phrase can change your entire mindset. Very true. Thank you for sharing.
Lead with intention because words have power.
Oof. Lead with intention because words have power. Thank you, Alexis. And Gabrielle writes, in the beginning, there was the word. Christine, I'm not sure if you're able to share, but we'd love to hear from you. Oh my gosh, that is so funny, Stacy and Gab. You both kind of did it at the same time. I thought the bird was the word. Now that's my round of pearls. Bird was the word. Thank you, everyone. And on that note, I'll let you all go. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, for your presence. Thank you to Peter Griffin. I get to, right? Leaving all these little gems for all of us. We'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye, everyone.